Monroe County on archiving and georeferencing the recorded plats and surveys for review for their historic preservation. It's really great. This is a great presentation. Today we have with us Jason George and his associate Jared. So first of all, Jason is a survey technician with the Monroe County Surveyor's Office. And before joining the county surveyor team, he worked on maps and parcel management for 12 years in the Marion County Assessor's Office. And currently his focus is in local preservation of public land survey system and implementing modern tools. That's great. Now his associate Jared is the GIS coordinator in Monroe County, and he's been in this role since March of 2021, so he is pretty new with that. So welcome. Jared's educational background includes a geography at Indiana University with a lot of professional experience, including both GIS and social services. Now, his focus is leveraging to support the teams working towards these amazing goals. But today, they're going to be talking about utilizing their resources for their plats and being submitted to their overall department, making sure that the monument corner records are. They're going to talk a lot more about this. Their presentation is being recorded and it's also going to be shared. Just as a reminder, if anyone has any questions or anything, please put those into the chat. Also, if you notice that Jared has put a survey in there, a quick survey, if everyone could please fill out that quick survey, and then we'll take a look at the results at the end. But without further ado, thank you. And by the way, this is actually officially GIS Day, even on a national level from Esri. So thank you very much for joining us. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to your team.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Jared Eichmiller. I'm the GIS coordinator for Monroe County.
Jared, did you want to turn on your camera?
Oh, I apologize. I don't know if it decided to stop whenever I began screen sharing. I can get that set back up again.
We saw you there for a second.
Okay, so I think it's because I'm screen sharing that whatever I'm using. So I apologize about that. But as was kind of mentioned, one of my goals in my role is to support kind of interdisciplinary teams in their efforts. And so for kind of the GIS coordinator role, some of this was about building out a program that can be used by other teams. So I'll go ahead and switch this over to Jason to kind of take a look at this project some with you guys.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, Amanda. Good morning, everybody. We are using this project, this georeferencing project, to document new documents in the planning system before they get recorded and tracking them into the recorded portion. Everything begins, though, with the overview of the public land survey system. The Public Land Survey System, or PLSS, it involves townships, ranges, and monument corners. General understanding and description. The first step in the original survey process was to run a baseline and a principal meridian to be used as an X and Y axis for accurately describing each parcel of land. The next step was to run a north-south range line every 6 miles. Next, the grid of township and range lines was further divided into 36 sections. The original section corners and section lines are the framework for property descriptions for our entire state. Section corners are used to establish and retrace property and boundaries. Here are some GIS resources we use to ensure our consistency in setting up these standards. In Monroe County, we developed a survey utility. It's on our webpage where we integrate GIS into the public land survey system using topology, geodatabases, and hyperlinks. starting with the point location data on the section corner monuments that our office has collected over the last 20 years. The locations are of varying quality. Very little of it is survey grade. Then we ran an ArcMap model that connected the section lines to our section corner points, generated feature class polygons, and incorporated topology into geodatabase layers. So if we get a more accurate location of a point and need to adjust it, the section lines and polygons are automatically shifted in that direction. Our next step was to integrate fields from the reference survey database, such as corner ID, corner name, section number, and township, as well as Internet Archive hyperlinks. Monument records, section lines, and townships. Coordinate grade. This is an example of a tie sheet that we did have a professional surveyor certify for us. A lot of them aren't of this quality, but we're trying to move in that direction. These are maintained in collected locations. Once a tie sheet has been created, you'll now have a well-organized and neatly constructed document showing all the necessary information used in order to review the public land survey system monument corner records. Monument corner records and survey-related records can now be accessed and displayed on GIS programs more easily or via mobile device. The lines and corners represented by GIS do not represent legal boundaries. Users should not rely on them for any purpose other than a low accuracy approximation of the location of lines or corners. They are of limited precision and are simply graphic representations developed for the county's limited purposes. By law, the legal boundaries of a parcel are a function of 1, the law, 2, evidence on the ground, and 3, the written description of or subdivision plat. Only a registered land surveyor is trained and licensed to locate boundary lines. Okay, when we begin this process, it starts with an email from planning, and this is set up from OpenGov, which is an electronic permitting software system a lot of counties use. They alarm us of a preliminary plat is being recorded. We go to the OpenGov page, and there's all these qualifications and agencies that are involved in this project. Here's our review. We go to the attachments and download the plat. And it kind of looks like this. We download it onto our machine. Oh no. Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. Let me shift over there. Okay, now we can see my G drive, I hope, where I download this document. Thanks, guys. Okay, at this point, you download the survey to the G drive, and we path it. All our GIS information is on this G drive here. And Jared's going to speak about how this pathing works into our georeferencing program.
Yeah, hi. So this is, I guess something that like we as like GIS coordinators and managers come to find as like hard-won lessons, I guess. So, you know, this file, shared file drive basically is what this is something that's been mapped to people's devices in different ways over time with different target folders, but still kind of name the same thing. And so something that we've been working to implement is universal naming conventions with the file paths that we are using to target the virtual machine that these are on, rather than kind of targeting the local mapped drive. So this also has kind of given us the opportunity to be a little more flexible with changes. And I apologize for noise outside my office if that's audible right now. But so this has given us some flexibility as we've started this project, knowing that like we are going to make major changes to this project like from the start, right? Just because it's how something like this develops. So that's given us more flexibility. And so thanks for giving me the chance to mention that, Jason.
Absolutely. Sorry about the screen thing before. This is the email I spoke of, and OpenGov. The downloaded plat, which does get downloaded to the G drive. We save it in our first draft. These plats can sometimes go through various modifications. In order to be georeferenced, well, first we go around, and in our function with OpenGov and the planning department is to identify all the section monuments. I took the liberty of doing this one just so I didn't have to fumble through it live. But in this one, there's 13 section monument corners. Identify them by their unique names, their place on their map, make sure they're consistent with our records. If it's a stone, we make sure it's a stone in our records. If there's a inconsistency, we flag it. Here are some we're going to look at later. This is a good looking plat. So another part of our process is to fill out a checklist. Now it looks like this. It has just some basic information. The survey company, the planner, the name, the planning ID number, the name of the plat, when it came into our office, and when we approved it. There were some simple questions. This one was consistent with all our records. If there's a discrepancy, if they say they have the surveyor found a railroad spike instead of a piece of rebar at a corner, we've check that as a discrepancy and write it up down here. Or if it's just like a replat of a existing subdivision and there's no section corner monument information in there, we just check non-applicable and save this and send it, upload it to the planning department, and our part of the OpenGov process is over. However, we are going to continue to archive this stuff in our geodatabases, and Jared will speak more about that. Jared.
So whenever we look at this form, this is kind of where GIS starts to take us to the next step. It's a different way of thinking, right? We're going from kind of using like a bookshelf, right, or using a file cabinet of these papers that maybe we even like have an Excel document that indexes these, to being able to look at a map and see what documentation is associated with monument record or another point. And so, I just really want to emphasize that this gives us an opportunity to, you look at this data over time and reduce some risk for human error. So I'll let you keep going with that, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as we continue on, we're going to get into the georeferencing portion of this, our demo. My shortcut did not open a new document as I hoped, of course. So we're going to go back further in our G drive. And open it here. As you can see, we use Arcgis Pro. I am pretty new to this. I just started working here in July and I had no pro experience. And part of the purpose of this whole demo is to show that there are so many tiers of experience in this that even somebody, a summer intern or an office manager can develop these GIS skills and in time kind of become like GIS experts, hopefully. See, I'm not quite there. Okay, so I kind of prepped this one. So this is our county. We got these all these townships here, some little township nublins on the top and the side. This plat is going to be in Indian Creek. So I kind of zoom into the area since I'm familiar with it. I'm going to go to our folder. This is a preliminary plat. So in order for this to be georeferenced, we can't do it as a PDF. So we're going to save this down as a TIFF in the georeferencing folder. New name with the GIS days tag on it. Change that to a TIFF. TIFFs are nice, high quality, but you're still a lot of flexibility with them. And kind of a tip is it's nice to have color in there because if you georeference something that's just black and white, it looks really weird. This one copied the second page of the plat as well, but we only really need the drawing section, so I'm going to delete that. Rename that. Like Jared spoke of, it's important for all these files to have the same naming conventions so they can all be pathed consistently. Okay, so we got a TIFF there. We're going to go back to our software and bring this in. Okay, a lot of people, you can just drag in these TIFFs from your Windows folder, but a lot of the GIS experts I've worked with have said that it's best to bring it in from your catalog. I haven't really gotten a great explanation why, but I do it because of these like superstitions I develop in time. So I just bring it in from my catalog, knock on my desk 3 times, and it usually works. Find our folder here. There's our GIS days. Okay, and then we bring it in. I like to put it underneath the parcels layer. Over here you can see all the layers we're gonna explore. It's digesting it right now. It's gonna ask me if I want to build a pyramid. And you do, but you don't want to hit always because you don't want to get locked into that. Again, that was expert GIS advice, and I'm figuring it out. Okay, so that means our TIFF is right there. There should be a little box here. It says unknown coordinate system because we have not referenced this yet spatially. We go to appearance. We want to set the stretch type for none. For whatever reason, if you don't do that, it just shows up as a blank square. Okay, then we go to imagery, georeference. You want to fit this to display. Oh, it worked. Great. Okay, now we're going to add some control points. These kind of lock this plat in. You can kind of start to see the shape of it versus the parcels and Pepto-Bismol magenta. There's our plat in blue. These surveyors use lots of color. I like that. So you just kind of click on it and you see that little red circle. You create your first control point. And you just go around and you just lock it into the thing and it just kind of shifts it around. Like we said in the intro, you know, none of this stuff is survey grade. Once we put it in there, and start stretching things, it becomes compromised and loses its scaling. But it's just it's a representation of what's going on in this area, and that's an important issue to our planning department. And we're going to start sharing this information more with them and other agencies as we go along and get this further developed. And like in a lot of counties where these parcels have been around for generations, they're not perfectly shaped, and really the survey is probably a better representation of what these parcels should look like. And they may get modified in time. So you just kind of lock it in. You really don't need to go overboard. If you do it too much, it kind of really makes it oblong. Okay, so we got some control points there. If you want to look at your control point table, you can delete a point you don't like that shifted things in a way you don't think it should have gone. You can review that, delete a line. It's pretty handy. But once you got things where you like them, you just save your georeferencing, and this TIFF is locked in here. And you close your georeference. Okay, so next item we're going to demo here is we're going to show. I did this plat had 13 section corners on there, so I did like most of them, so as to not drag it on. These are two I left for the demo. A mag nail found at this northeast corner. So we developed this system to track these monuments. Got a little file tab here. And you may know this is there's like a break line here, right here. So this isn't like actually where this section corner should go, but it's where the important part is the data that we're going to identify this corner in our geodatabases, and there'll be several instances of it as time goes on and more plats are generated in surveys, so we can check for consistency of all references to this section corner Indian Creek K13. Okay, so I got the monument in place. I'm going to open the attribute table now, where we can see, there's other ways to do this as well. This is kind of my learning curve way of learning how to fill these tables. Where are we at? Monument. That black box is the attribute table. I like to dock these up here so I can switch from map view to attribute. I sort ascending because this will be the last one in here. Go down to the bottom. What do we call it? Indian Creek K13. And we begin filling out our table. If anybody sees a typo, just tell me. Okay. So we check monument is perpetuated or not, if it is referenced in surveys, or if it is unknown. This one is perpetuated. So be this in here. There are no discrepancies. I happened to research all this stuff ahead of time. This was perpetuated in 2011 by the then surveyor, Mr. Kevin Enright. These are the other fields I filled out before, so I'm just going to copy this information into here from them. And time, we're working on ways to append this so we can just fill these fields automatically once we have like the general planning number. But we just started this project as soon as I got here, so it's in its infancy right now. That was, the survey said that was a mag nail. Okay, and the pathing will be sorted out later. Okay, we're gonna do another one here. Okay, we're gonna go right to our area of interest. And that's what we call these features here. These are things that planning is interested in. Drainage easements, ingress, egress, open spaces, conservatory features. Stormwater is a big issue here. So a lot of these things were coming into play and probably become more into play as planning becomes more developed. Okay, so I've identified a drainage easement up here. The best way to draw this out is with the polygon tool. You just kind of draw along there. I was terrible at this, but now it's like pretty fun and something I look forward to doing. It's like a reprieve to childhood days where you're like coloring in school or something, like waiting before like the teacher's ready to get going for the daily lessons. It doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, this water's not really going to go exactly along this pathway either. So once you get it finished, you could just right click and hit finish or hit F2. And that should load it into the attribute table for that feature. There it is, null. So we just filled our table. So drainage easement, that was already pre-identified. And always good to save. I'm not going to save here because I'm probably going to doctor these a little bit. I believe there was one more. There was one I did yesterday. It's really cool. Like once you get like some scope with this stuff, and you know, you can zoom out the whole county and just like see other features you already added in there. I'm going to put one more in here. This is a, nope, it's right over here. It's a proposed septic. And likewise, go to your attribute table. There it is. Oops, I identified it as a drainage agent. No problem. Okay, and you save it down. And that is how we have been documenting areas of interest and monument corners in Monroe County. Jared would like to talk more about this data utilization.
Thanks, Jason. Amanda, about how much time do we have left? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I will jump into this. Thanks, Jason. I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. And Amanda, I can't hear you. Thank you. So I'm just going to jump into kind of a slight example of what we can use to maybe to share some of this data internally with other offices who might find this useful. So this is using an ArcGIS online dashboard. Some of you are probably very familiar with these, either using ArcGIS online or with enterprise deployments on a server. So what we're looking at here is something that could kind of be used internally to start showing these records and kind of a low barrier way to people who aren't editing GIS data or who don't need to edit this GIS data. And so these are actually clusters of the monuments that we've been taking a look at in this process. Just as kind of a quick note is that you know, we incorporated some of the survey data into this dashboard on the bottom right hand side of this to kind of show some of who's involved in our webinar in our meetings today, but to also show that some of the capabilities of using a dashboard like this might have in you know, receiving input despite, you know, maybe not having editing capabilities for some users. And so if we take a look at this, we can come down and see the attributes associated with this specific monument. You know, a lot of this as a GIS coordinator, what this is about is, you know, making this possible for you know, a project of this extent to be used by users at an appropriate level. So in our current process, we have it so that you know, users can do all of this work, but they can also use a custom geoprocessing tool that does the file pathing for them to the universal naming convention, right? And that's something that's on me, but gives them the ability to still engage in this process. So with these clusters, we can see for this monument record, there are 4 associated with it. And so this tool allows us to see, hey, like there are this many. And so this is a dashboard that was kind of pulled together quickly, specifically for this presentation. But we can see here the associated records for the specific monument. And we're able to kind of take a look at some of the ongoing changes to these records, and specifically looking at, you know, maybe instances where multiple discrepancies have been noted over time, which would be extremely useful to the departments involved. So with that, I think that we are ready to kind of answer some questions that people might have.
This is Amanda. Can you hear me this time?
I can.
Oh my gosh, I got out and got back in. Nothing like you running this whole event not working. Okay, we do have a couple questions, and I don't know if I know you may have answered one of them, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it for the group. So Jill asked, which license level gives you the georeferencing capabilities?
Right. So so Jason currently uses a basic license level on a named user account, and so he was able to accomplish all of that with that level.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Another question from Jill. Have you considered requesting CAD files or spatially referencing PDFs from the surveyor and the engineering firm?
Yeah, so electronic submittals are of course something that we always benefit from. And I think that that's kind of like a part of a broader discussion and process.
Wonderful. Okay, one more question from John Howe. What's the conflict resolution process for times when the survey corner reference does not match what's on file for that corner in the surveyor's office?
Jason, are you able to respond to that one?
Yes. Really, we just note the discrepancy. We reach out to the surveyor. Perhaps some information has changed since we were last out at the corner, and our tie records are outdated. And we put this in our queue to do field work and catch up if the surveyor has good cause. Sometimes it's just a typo. Sometimes the surveyor is wrong, but we're not. We don't like dispute what the surveyor says.
Great. I see that someone in our group has their hand up. Unfortunately, I cannot unmute you, so put any questions you have into the chat, please.
I should also add that that does not halt the planning process. Having a discrepancy in our monuments versus the new survey plat, we just note it and the process continues. Sometimes the planners lean on the surveyor to make the corrections or to clarify the discrepancy. Thanks for the question, though. That's a good one.
So here we go. Here's an interesting one. Jared, this one's for you. What's the map behind you?
It looks like it is a map from 1882. I'm not sure what the exact title is, but it says it's called An Outline of Indiana from 1882.
Well, there you go. Any more questions? You guys did a great job. This is a lot of technical information that you really summarized in a great presentation. This presentation has been recorded. And I'm going to request that they send me any PowerPoint presentation, any snips of anything, and I'll be more than happy to post that also. Do we have any more questions today? All right. Well, thank you so much for attending, everyone. Jared and Jason, thank you so much for this really informative and great presentation. Enjoy the rest of the GIS day, and thank you so very much.